What's going on, family? It's your boy Markus, aka Charslayer, and you already know we here with another banger. We are here in the Digital Empire Podcast, and you know we're here to teach you anything digital investments and entrepreneurship. And I have a special guest. This is actually his first time on a podcast, but he's really lit. I'm telling you, he's one of those people where you have those billionaires that are in the background, and then they should be in the forefront because of how lit they are. Like, this is that type of guy. So I want to go ahead and introduce my man, Ed Smiley. How you feeling, brother?
I'm feeling good, man. Feeling good.
Like
appreciate that intro. Like the guys in the background making anything happen. Yeah.
On my podcast, this thing, I'm hella selfish, but I'm also very curious. So I want to ask you, like, for the audience, the people that don't know who you are, can you break down what exactly you do and who you are?
Yeah, that's a good question. So my main thing is sales. So anyone that is looking to, get into the digital space and also is looking to grow from a financial standpoint, we want to make sure that we can help you make an additional 6 figures, 7 figures on a month-to-month basis. And that's helping to sell your mentorship, right? Most people have an expertise. Most people specialize in something, whether that's, credit, whether that's sales, whether that's basket weaving.
Right.
There's an audience for any particular industry. And once you build a competence and once you build an audience, people want to learn and understand exactly how can they make money, how can they impact their lives, and how can they impact their families' lives the way that you have. Right. So a lot of times people have these programs where they're teaching individuals how to do said thing. Right. And so those individuals are busy running the business as a whole. They may not have time to have communication or have a conversation with all the people that are interested. So they would then hire somebody like myself and allow our team to come in and have those conversations on their behalf. So now they're focused on big picture. They may have marketing they got to focus on. They may have accounting they got to focus on. They may have customer service you got to focus on, right? And the sales aspect is just one component. So that allows me to come in and handle this particular silo or branch of the department of the business so they can focus on the entire business, expansion, growth, development, and things of that sort.
That's lit. So I want to dive before you got into sales, right? You mentioned off the podcast that you stayed in Vegas. Like, break down, like, what were you doing that, like, right before you were in sales? Like, what was that deciding factor?
Okay. So you were asking what I was doing in Vegas. First couple of years being a degenerate. But after I got my act together, I actually moved to Vegas from Charlotte. I had moved down to
Carolinas.
Charlotte. Yeah. I'm originally from Cleveland, born and raised. So I left Cleveland to move down to Charlotte with a girlfriend at the time. Long story short, things didn't work out. It lasted about 3 days. After that 3 days,
that was random.
It was like being in a house with someone who basically hated you for the next 3 weeks.
Right.
So at the end of the month, at the end of April, this was back in 2023, I packed my car up, I moved out to Vegas, and I started rebuilding my life there. It took me about 5 weeks. I got into the hospitality industry.
Okay.
And so I had been working there for about 5.5 years or so. Actually, I went to college, got a degree. I used my degree.
Right. That's dope.
I was like, all right, lit. Right. And then that was supposed to be just a stopping ground until I got to California. But after seeing like the cost of living in California compared to Nevada, right, there's no state income tax there.
Right.
And then if you take away that 5-mile piece of Las Vegas, which is called the Strip, it's just like any other city.
Right.
The cost of living there is the same as it is in Cleveland, but there's no state income tax. So your dollar goes further.
Right.
So I was there. I worked in the corporate office for a few years. Started doing things like, programming POS systems and things of that sort. And then from there, moved over to HR for a couple of years. 2019 comes around. The beginning of 2019, I'm like, I need something different.
Right.
I'm in this cubicle. Like, even though I rebuilt the life, it's still a ceiling. It's not even a glass ceiling. It's like a stone ceiling, right? You can't even see, like, man, what are the other options out there?
Right.
So that's when I decided, I was like, all right, I need a skill set. I started getting into social media marketing. But guess what? I couldn't get any clients. I didn't know how to get clients.
Man, isn't that every entrepreneur struggle?
I was like, yo, how do I get clients? I don't know how to market. This is like right before social media started to like blow up.
Right.
So at that point, I went to a conference, and that conference was my main thing was like, all right, how do I sell? How do I get people to invest money into my service.
Right.
So I went there. I came across a guy named Daniel G. He was the first guy who actually like kind of laid the foundation for sales.
That name sounds familiar.
Yeah, if you go to Instagram, you type in Daniel G, you'll see him. He has a blue check mark, 1 million followers, whatever.
Well, nowadays you got to verify these blue checks. So
you got to verify the verification, right?
Right.
But he was a solid dude. And so he kind of laid the foundation for my sales experience. And so working with him, he also provided the work as well. So he taught you how to sell, and he also partnered you with someone who needed that service.
Right.
So the first thing I started focusing on when it came to sales was a conference, essentially mentorship.
Right.
So this guy was teaching people how to start their own ATM business. And he lives out in California, Orange County. Eric Lavano, shout out to Eric. So when I worked with him, that was like, all right, cool. Let's put everything we learned into action. And so before we got any leads, it was like, I don't know, a few weeks before we got anything. And then from there, it was basically like a snowball effect. Everything I had learned at that point, I started to apply and I started to see results.
Right.
And I was like, oh, in corporate America, I used to work 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day, and only made like $120. Doing that, I was on a phone call for about 30, 45 minutes, and I made $150. So I was like, oh, 8 hours, 150, 1 hour, 150.
So how did that make you feel? Your first 150 in that 1 hour,
Bro. I almost went outside and started looking at brand new cars. I'm like, yo, this is what it's gonna be like. And then he had already laid the foundation to say, all right, cool. Here's what's gonna be happening next. We about to go on tour. We about to, instead of it being 2,000, these about to be $10,000 deals, $15,000 deals. Right? You're gonna walk away with $6K in a single day. So I'm like, I'm hyped. I started devouring everything I could around sales. So, of course, you start off with the old heads, right? Start off with Jordan Belfort.
of course.
Then went to Grant.
Yep.
Then went on to a few other people. And so I started taking everything that I learned from them, started to apply it, and I started to add my own little twist to it.
Right.
And then I started to notice, like, oh, there's a new wave of cats coming in.
Yeah.
That's where your Jeremy Miners came in.
Yeah. The Cole Gordons.
That's where your Cole Gordons came into play, right? That's where your Matt Ryders come into play. So, Grant did a great job of continuing in the education, but then when you want to refine that whole process, it's like having a high school coach for basketball. Then you get a college coach, and then you get Greg Popovich.
Right. You get them pros.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So tell me this: when you went and started in sales, like where was the 150 like your king? Like when was your aha moment in your sales career?
When you say aha moment, meaning like, oh, this is what I'm going to focus on, or it's like, oh, this.
Like you were like, yo, this is the only thing that my eyes are set on.
It was when I went to that conference. I said, come hell or high water, I'm going to master this. I'm going to master this. Because it is like, you look at any business, without sales, there is no business. All you have is a hobby.
Zero. So can you stress, like mentioning that there's no business without sales, can you stress the importance of marketing and sales going hand in hand? Like why do people feel that marketing is important for sales? Okay, can you explain that?
Yeah, great question. So when it comes to marketing and sales they're like married. They're interlinked. Marketing all the way through the sales process, it is all sales. But what the marketing does is it helps raise awareness of who you are, what you do, what the business does, and how it can help and benefit someone else. Right. So it'll raise people's awareness. And now where the sales aspect picks up is it helps fill in the gaps that marketing may not have. Right. So with marketing, you're doing one to many typically. So like when you're working with, some mentees, it's usually you, your brother, your mom, right? And you're talking to a large audience. Correct. And so each one of those people that's in the audience may have a preconceived notion of what success looks like in your field, and you're able to speak to that. But you may not speak to everything that they have a concern about. And then from a sales perspective, we understand what their motivating factors are, their pain, their goals, right? And with those are the two most important ones. We can then speak to and help fill in the blanks that they may have within their knowledge base. So that way they have a strong and they feel confident that you can help them solve their problem.
Most people don't know the proper sales process because you broke down like the word sales process. But can you really break down like a generic average or I wouldn't say average, but a generic sales process that a person that is wanting to be an entrepreneur should go through from marketing, starting from the marketing side?
Right now, the most expensive currency is attention.
Correct. Yep.
You have to get attention. And when you have attention, you can monetize that attention. So there's several different ways that you can go about, gaining attention. You can build your own audience. You can utilize somebody else's audience. You can utilize somebody else's stage.
Yep.
Right. And then you can bring value to those individuals. So that way they see you as a subject matter expert within that industry.
Right.
And then when that happens, you can have some sort of call to action, DM me, click the link in my bio, follow me on Instagram for more. So that's the first step in that whole process, is to get their attention.
Right.
As you start to put out more content, as you start to help people in that process, giving away free content, they'll start to see you as like, yo, he can help me in more than one facet, in more than one avenue.
Right.
And then that's when you essentially have them talk to you, talk to your team, because at that point, the only way that any of us make money is by serving other people.
Correct. 100%.
No one's gonna be paying their own product all the time.
100%.
So we need to have other people to help kind of support that endeavor. And so by doing that is by providing value for those individuals.
Right.
Now, the question then becomes like, how do you define value?
Right.
But that's kind of like a whole nother topic. So in the sense of like gaining their attention, gaining their trust, right? That's going to be the big one. The marketing helps with increasing someone's trust and willingness to listen to you.
Correct.
And so they may still have questions, but then that's when you transition into essentially a sales call.
Okay.
Right. Talk with our team so that way we can see exactly what it is that's holding you up, something that you may be struggling with or challenged with. So that way, even if we don't have the solution, we still point you in the right direction. And as long as you have the prospect's best interest in mind, that just is conveyed by the conversation that you're having, your attentiveness to detail. So now at this point, it's like, cool, I can trust whatever advice they give because they're not in it for themselves. They're in it to help me. So
he went from, you got to get attention in any way possible, right? So I believe there's like owned media, earned media, all there's the 6 ways that you can get attention. Sales teams, which is what we're talking about right now, right? But like there's different ways to get income, right? And then the attention is from those ways. So let's say we're on Instagram, a way that they can get on a sales call, because the whole goal is to hop on a sales call, is they can either DM you, they can either I think that's the only route they can come from an Instagram is just through a DM. You know any other ways that can happen?
Well, click the link in my bio.
Well, yeah. I should have said that. Yeah, click the link in my bio. Yeah. That's another way. A funnel, whatever it is, a website. That's a way that they can get in touch with. There's only 2 ways from an Instagram. There's really only 2 ways in general on social media, right? So that's like super, super important. So coming from the sales process, right? If someone hops on a sales call, actually, let's talk about how someone can bring in a sales team, right? The importance of a sales team, the importance of how they can delegate some of that stress, because it can be stressful, right? Just having so many calls in a day. I know from personal experience, when I had so many calls in a day, I couldn't even leave the house. You get what I'm saying? So can you break down what is in a sales team? What positions is an average entrepreneur needing to have within a sales team?
Yeah. So at the bare basic level, if you're just getting started, I'd say the most important person to have is a closer, right? Because the closer can do any and everything. The purpose of like having a sales team is to get people to invest in you in some way, shape, or fashion. And the closer does that. So that's number 1. Number 2, you can have what's called an appointment setter, a triage caller. Right. And that individual is there to qualify. Let's say you're bringing in 20 leads a day. There's no way one closer is going to get on the phone with 20 people in a day. Right. It's typically a high ticket offer. You're going to be on the phone with that individual anywhere from like 45 minutes to maybe an hour. So you want to make sure that the individuals their time is utilized with the most qualified people. So that's when the appointment setter comes in. They'll qualify this person to see if they have, let's say, a minimum credit score. They have the minimum amount of capital or access to capital. Right. And then if all the decision makers are also on the phone as well. So then at that point, you would pass that person up to the closer. And then the last person that I'd say that you want to have is, of course, the manager, because that individual is putting together the strategies, putting together the game plan So even if you have, let's say, a closer coming in, what does the follow-up sequence look like? What does it look like when you have a different promo going on? How do we keep everything in order? What do the metrics look like?
Right.
How many people are we talking to? What does the close percentage look like? That is the brains of that particular arm, and that's the person that's supposed to be reporting back to the business owner.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. So when do you need a sales team? Let's talk about that first.
Yeah. So you want to have a sales team when you have your training curriculum built. That's when you want to have a sales team. Because if you don't have a curriculum built, what are you going to be selling?
Correct. So it's not do you need a certain amount of leads coming in to have a sales team as well?
That's going to be second.
Gotcha.
So when the curriculum is built, you know exactly how you're going to be teaching these individuals, how often you're going to be meeting, and then what's going to be included within that training program. Because if we can't speak to it, we can't have the confidence that, one, we're selling something ethically, two, that we're going to speak with the utmost confidence. And then that's the crazy thing is, like, when you're on a call, people can feel when you're confident. People know when you are knowledgeable about the particular product.
For sure.
And with me, I don't want my people to speak from a sales frame. I want them to speak from an expert frame, or as much as humanly possible.
Right.
So it's like downloading all that you've learned in your 6.5 years of doing this into the closer's mind. So that way, if there is a question that may be kind of off topic, there's so much weight that you can give in your response that it answers that question plus the 3 other questions they may have after that.
Correct.
So that's what I want from a closer's perspective. Now, I kind of forgot.
No, the leads part.
Question.
Yeah, the leads part.
Okay, the leads part. So at that point, once you have the curriculum built, it's like, do we have the attention?
Right.
On average, I'd say you want to have anywhere between, at the bare minimum, like 15 to 20 leads a week. And these are like qualified leads.
Right.
Just because you want this person to be able to do this full time. Because if they're not, they'll be doing this. They'll also be selling for somebody else just to help fill up their schedule. And so you want to have it in a sense where their vision can fit inside of your vision. Right.
100%.
So what that means is, if the person that's coming in and closing, they want to be able to get to a point where they're making 15, 20,000 on a month-to-month basis. Perfect. That fits within the scope of what you're looking to do, because you want the closer to be closing roughly 200,000-300,000 a month.
A month. Yep. 100%.
So that fits within your vision of what they're looking to accomplish. And then on top of that, there's leeway for them to grow.
Right.
So if they want to ascend and at some point start to manage and have a team underneath them, they can absolutely do that.
Got you. So when they get the 15 qualified leads per week, that means if you're doing the 10% rule, right, they would need to have 150 coming in every single week, just unqualified, or like mixed of qualified and unqualified.
Yeah.
Here and there, rough estimate. So as soon as someone closes the deal, you said there is a sales manager, a closer, an appointment setter.
Yep.
But from what I hear, this is me asking you the question now. I hear a lot of other positions as well in the sales team. You got like an account manager. You got like a new word that comes up as a chat assassin, or like a DM closer, or whatever the terminology there are. You also have like what's the other person? There's other people that comes in the mix. So like the client success manager, like, because those are some people that are in there as well. Like those are the fulfillment, but they're still like semi on the sales team at the same time. Like when do those people come in, or do they even come in? And if so, like when does it make sense?
Yeah, so those other components that you had talked about, after you start to scale, that's when you bring those in. So like someone that manages the DM, that's more so on the marketing side.
Right.
But there's a blend between the marketing and the sales. Client success manager, right? That's more on the operation side. But of course, there's going to be a warm handoff between the sales team and the operations team. Onboarding is going to be huge.
Right, 100%.
So that's going to fall underneath the operations piece. And so that's where the connection between the sales and operations is a client success. And then what happens is, if it's really good, the closer is going to put the notes for that particular prospect in that profile. So that way, when the onboarding team sees, like, okay, so this person is looking to do this because their mom has medical bills. They're looking to do this because they want to build a legacy for the next generation. They have, 3 kids, 2 daughters and a son. So now we can speak directly to them during the onboarding session. So now it's like, oh, this is a cohesive team. Right. These people are all on point. Like, they got it. And then knowing that whole time, we're still selling them on the idea that we can help them. because
Right.
we haven't officially done it just yet. But these are going to be the beginning steps to show like we know what the heck we're talking about.
So what's the difference between an account manager and a sales manager?
So it's kind of like an umbrella. Like your sales manager may have multiple accounts. Your sales manager is going to be the one that's over the entire sales team.
Gotcha.
And then that particular entrepreneur may have 3 or 4 different services that they're providing. They may have 3 or 4 different mentorships, right? So let's
Got
say
you.
inner circle, event spaces,
Right.
and let's say real estate.
Right,
So
right,
the
right.
account manager is going to have the real estate, inner circle, and then event spaces, whereas the manager of the sales team is going to have all
All of them.
Yep.
Got you. So literally what it's about. Okay. Got you. See, I never understood that. I was like account manager. So I would always say account manager. So then what's the difference between account manager and a CSM? And then what's the difference between an account manager and because it's per account. And usually with the CSM, they have a certain amount of accounts that they have as well before you hire another CSM. Because, of course, a person can only take up so much. So like I would always get confused because you would have a client success manager that would be like, okay, you're for these accounts. You're for these accounts. And so I was like, well, wouldn't a client success manager be an account manager? And I was like, what's the difference? But then you just explained that, but it's only for sales in that respect. So the difference is that it's only for the sales piece instead of it being on the operation side.
Yep.
Got you. That makes sense. So let me ask you this. What if somebody wants to get a closer? Like how would you be able to help an entrepreneur to this day and say, look, like this is what I do. Like how can they get in touch with you? How can they really get to know what you do as a whole? And how can you help them?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best place to find me is definitely going to be on Instagram, Ed Smiley, at Ed Smiley. I'm a huge fan of showing results. And anytime that, I'm working with a client, I love to use their testimonials. I love to use their results as a huge selling point.
Right.
When in doubt, let your social proof shout.
Yep.
So I'd say start there because I have in the highlights, and I just found out yesterday, there's a limit on how many highlights you can have in a particular category. The limit is 100. I found this out yesterday.
Yeah, there is a limit. I had to do like Dubai like 4 different times.
Yeah. So
I forgot.
In there, you'll see a highlight that's called closed deals. And in there you can see the results that I've done. Right. I think the first one is probably like a screenshot, 17K, 10K, right? So I'd say find someone that's credible and find someone that has results they can show you, and then have them kind of walk through what a process will look like for you,
Right.
particularly. Your system may be different than someone else. So if they give kind of a general presentation, that's not someone you want to work with because that's going to translate over to a call itself. Everyone is very unique in the sense of how they like to consume information.
Of course.
They like things to be tailored. So you want to make sure you're using more of a tailored approach. You're not saying you're doing one-on-one, but it's a tailored approach when you're assigning homework, right? Because that is what gives people the sense like they understand where I'm at, they understand what the goal is, and it presupposes they have the solution that helps fill in that gap between where I'm at and where I want to be.
Got you. That's nice. So yeah, look, y'all got to check out this guy. This man closing deals every day. If y'all could see the back office, this man go crazy. So I want you all to tap in with my guy, Ed. This man is really changing lives today. Like he's working with a whole lot of people. He's our sales manager. So you get in a referral. There's nothing stronger than a referral. Okay. So tap in with your guy. Ed, I appreciate you for hopping on, bro.
Of course.
It's lit.
Appreciate you
I always
having me.
love having people on here who really change their lives and impacting others as well. So y'all tap in. Thanks for tapping into the Digital Empire Podcast. And you know that I will see you in the next one.